So my name is Nikola Tchuparov. I'm based in London. I'm co-founder and CEO of Moneyfall, which is a financial firm. We have a license from the regulator in the UK. I've been in the blockchain space since 2013, so I've been around for a while, and it's my favorite topic. So what is blockchain? I see it as a tool to enforce digital scarcity. So how do we make something digital unique without relying on a trusted third party, without relying on a bank, without relying on a certificates authority, without having to trust anybody? And this is important because if you think about what kind of problems can be solved through decentralized consensus, well, it's the kind of problems that require digital uniqueness. So for example, if you go to IKEA, you can get a flat pack and build your own desk or chair, and those things are manufactured in the millions and millions of them. They don't require to be unique, and they're not digital. So if you want to apply blockchain to flat pack furniture, it doesn't make sense. So you have to look for something that's digital and that requires uniqueness, such as money. So public blockchains require native tokens. I think you all know that. You need Bitcoin or Ether or Litecoin or Eternity in order to operate with the respective blockchain. However, cryptocurrencies have volatile prices. They can go up 10% one day, go down 10% one day. So if you want to use it for payment day to day, it's not particularly convenient. I mean, I hold cryptocurrencies because I believe in them, but I don't use them to pay for a coffee, or I don't use them for everyday use, because I think, that's not their purpose. So we invented this thing, not we personally, but we as an industry, called stablecoins, and they're usually implemented as a layer 2 token. Layer 2 meaning you have the public blockchain, you have the native token, and then you build applications on top of it, such as, stablecoins is one such application. And broadly, there are 3 categories of stablecoins at the moment. There's algorithmic, things like MakerDAO and DAI, which we heard about earlier. There's asset-backed stablecoins, so tokens that are backed by gold or by real estate or by other real-world assets. And then there's also the fiat-backed, which is the category I work with. Euros, US dollars, pounds, Bulgarian levs in the form of cryptographic tokens. So the algorithmic stablecoins, they rely on clever algorithms to force users to behave in a certain manner or to punish users for certain behavior in order to force that stablecoin to have a fixed exchange rate against the reference. So with the case of DAI, D-A-I, they have this concept of CDP, a collateralized debt position, where you lock up your cryptocurrency into the CDP, and in exchange you receive a loan denominated in DAI. And they have interest rate, and you can be liquidated if the collateralized Ethereum is not enough, and that's how they try to force one DAI token to equal $1. So here's the example. You put $300 worth of Ethereum in this collateralized debt position or CDP, and you receive $200 worth of DAI. And because it's 1-to-1, it's actually 200 DAI. And you can pay back the 200 DAI to get your original Ethereum back, if you want, And here's what happens in reality. I took this chart yesterday. So the green chart, that shows you the price of DAI compared to the US dollar. And you'll see it ranges between 96 cents, so 1 DAI to 96 cents, to $1.04. So it's pretty stable. I mean, that's quite a decent range, 96 to 104. However, I would argue it's still not particularly useful if you want to use it buy groceries. If you go and buy some potatoes and you don't know if you're going to pay 96 cents or if you're going to pay $1.04. I mean, many of us don't care. Well, my grandmother cares because she's counting her pennies. Nonetheless, it's been very successful. You can see it has a market cap of $84,600,000 US dollars. So that's how much DAI is out in circulation. Then you have the asset-backed stablecoins. So here's an example, Econ. It's a gold-backed stablecoin on Ethereum. So you have a private vault in Switzerland where they've locked up a certain amount of gold, and if you buy one Econ token, it's the equivalent of buying 1 gram of gold that's sitting in this vault. So in this case, the stable coin is backed by a precious metal, by a physical gold. Now, obviously, you have to trust the Swiss vault about this, and you know how I'll speak about how it's all regulated later. Here's another example of an asset-backed stable coin. This is specifically with STOs, security token offerings. Global Cap, it's a London-based company. If you do a fundraise with them, they can tokenize your equity. So if you're a private company and you want to raise, 500,000 of funding, you go to them, they organize it for you. You get the 500,000 which you use to build your business. And the shares, instead of sitting on a registry or an Excel spreadsheet or paper certificate, they're in the form of digital tokens on a blockchain. And one token gives you one share, and meaning one vote in the shareholder voting, or if you receive a dividend, you receive one share worth of dividend. Then there's also tokenized public shares. This company, Currency.com, where one token equals one share in a listed company. For example, they have, this is an exchange that they operate, they have Uber. So if you want to trade Uber, you can trade it through your broker, or you can trade the Uber collateralized tokens on this exchange. So this is another type of stablecoin where it's backed by the shares of a listed company. What about financial regulation? So MakerDAO, or DAI, as far as I know, they do not have any licenses, and they do not apply any KYC or AML or CFT, meaning it's completely outside of the financial system. Now, whether this is legal or not, I don't know. It remains to be seen. Econ. So I don't actually know if holding gold and issuing tokens representing that gold is a regulated activity. If it is, I hope they have a license. GlobalCap, they obtained what's called a CAS license in the UK that allows them to custody client assets. And they went through the FCA regulatory sandbox. So this is how they're doing it. Currency.com, they obtained licenses in Belarus and Gibraltar. So in order to tokenize these publicly listed companies, they're relying on a decree that was issued in Belarus, and they're also obtaining a license in Gibraltar. And then, how do we do the fiat, or national currencies? So Moneyfall, this is my company, and that's what we specialize in. Our tokens are legally e-money, electronic money, which means that we're required to hold full reserves. So if I issue 1,000 pounds of coins, I have to have 1,000 pounds of reserves. Secondly, because those reserves are client money, they have to be safeguarded in an appropriate account of the credit institution. So that's how we're handling it. We have, at the moment on the Ethereum blockchain, we've launched Euro, Pound, Japanese Yen, Polish Zloty, Hong Kong dollar, and Swiss franc, and we're able to do most European currencies, and we're looking at ways of doing African currencies in US dollar. So here's an example. If any of you MetaMask, which is a browser extension, which allows you to interact with the Ethereum blockchain, you can see your pounds and euros, and these are legally pounds and euros, right next with your cryptocurrencies and your other ERC20 tokens, and you can send them, you can interact with them the way you interact with any other cryptocurrency. So here's a screenshot from the IDO Hybrid Exchange, where you can see, so the EURO-M, that's the Moneyfall Euro tokens. That's the ticker they came up for it. And you can see down at the bottom, they also have EKG. EKG, that's the Econ Gold. So in theory, you can use the pound sterling coins, or in this case, the Euro stable coin, to exchange with the Econ Gold stable coin. So you can all of a sudden buy and sell gold traded in a non-custodial manner, meaning you're not relying on a third party to settle the cash. You don't have to wait for 2 days or 3 days or however long it takes to move the money through the banking system, because those tokens, the moment they're recorded on the blockchain, you have the legal right to the euros, you have the legal right to the gold. And this is, by the way, this is already in production. I don't know if any of you are using IDO. Oh, I see Simona. Sorry, no Libra, no Libra. Okay. So here's another example. This is Uniswap, which is a DEX where you can convert any ERC20 token for any ERC20 token. So literally, I went to their website and I said, well, I want to exchange my pound tokens for my euro tokens, and I was able to do it. And it's nearly instantaneous, takes about 15 seconds. It uses atomic swaps, so there's no counterparty default risk. And I think this is the future of how FX will be done. And what you have there on your right is a view from Etherscan, which is a block explorer where you can go and see the details of the transaction. And what's recorded there is, you can see that 1 GBP was exchanged for 1.2 euro. So this was a pound to euro transaction. It was executed in February. The proof is on the blockchain. I'm not making this up. And you can see the actual transaction details. There it records how much it costs to execute this transaction, so you can compare this to what is the cost of going through the traditional financial system. And what I can also tell you is that those 12 cents are calculated based on yesterday's price. When we executed this transaction, it was actually 5 cents. This is about 90% cheaper than the traditional financial system. Okay, the way we're regulated is we have an electronic money institution, or rather small electronic money institution license in the UK. We graduated from the FCA's regulatory Sandbox program last year. And what can I actually do with this stuff? Well, I showed you a few screenshots of what you're already able to do. But you can build any type of financial services. If you're developing decentralized apps, DEXs, ICOs, STOs, atomic swaps, conditional payments, whatever you want to do, I believe the next generation of the financial system is going to be built using these forms of stablecoins. I know it's not fully decentralized, but the record keeping is decentralized. You get a lot more immutability and a lot more transparency, and it's cheaper compared to the traditional financial system. And once we get to this point, we can see, well, can we push this further and build something that's truly decentralized end-to-end, which I don't believe that's presently possible. So this is to give you an example. This is a slide we submitted to the Bank of England. This was shown inside the building of the Bank of England, next to a presentation from SWIFT, next to a presentation from R3 and Settle, in terms of how we can use this technology and use the central bank directly to have, digital stable coins and completely circumvent the commercial banking system. And in this specific case, we're showing how you can do an atomic swap between shares and pound sterling. But really, you can do this with any tokenized asset. Why does any of this matter? Well, its innovation allegedly leads to increased economic growth and higher living standards, and I think we all want that. And as a customer, you get more direct control over your financial affairs. And more control means more freedom. So I think it's a rare situation where actually the individual's desire for more independence and need for more independence and need for freedom is actually aligned with what leads to economic growth. So that's why I think this will be successful. So thank you for your attention. I would welcome a few questions. And I'm pleased to announce I did that in 14 minutes. Yes, sir. So somebody will get you a microphone.
Добър ден.
Добър ден.
Is there a stable Bulgarian level?
No, but we can do it for you if you're interested. We do have the ability to provide that. So that's a customer for me. See, this is the value of this conference. Yes, sir.
What exactly are you aiming at with your business?
I used to work in the banks. I spent 10 years setting up trading and risk management systems, and I've seen how stuff works on the inside, and I was not impressed. So I think we can do much better using this technology. So I'm building a future bank, let's say. which is, by the way, crypto-friendly. We do. we can, by the way, work with decentralized exchanges and other types of exchanges, and yeah. We can also issue prepaid debit cards, Visa. We can IBANs. There's a lot of things we can do because we also have the financial license. Yes, Simona.
Can you also issue debit cards?
Yes.
Not prepaid, debit cards, no.
We can do regular debit card, we can also do prepaid card, yes.
Okay, thank you. Which kind of know your customer do you require to issue such cards and use your system?
So we would need to see proof of ID, so we need government-issued ID. Centralized identity doesn't cut it. I mean, decentralized identity doesn't meet the requirement. So it needs to be government-issued photo ID, and we also need proof of address. So a utility bill or a bank statement or something so it's traditional KYC. This is a legal requirement. And unless you have that, you cannot actually use our stablecoin. That's how we meet the regulation. So anonymous transacting is not possible. If you want to do anonymous transactions, you have to do Monero, Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, which are outside of regulation. If you want dollars, euros, pounds, we have to stay within regulation. So it's a compromise. It's not quite the current centralized banking model. It's not decentralized finance. It's somewhere in the middle.
And your business model is more or less like Wirex. Do you want also to add the banking layer, like send and receive wire transfer?
Yes, I could say, yeah, I would agree with that statement.
Because
yeah.
I believe that there is a need of this kind of services, crypto, fiat, unlikely, I mean, sometimes you need fiat, but on top of that, you need to have a wire transfer. And usually this part is the weakest part of players like Wirex, Xapo before, etc., etc. So I believe there is a big market need.
I mean, our objective is to integrate directly with the central bank. So then, the legal framework is in place for us to integrate with the central bank in the UK. We can also get direct access to SEPA ICT, so Euro instant payments, because we're a regulated entity. But we don't have the budget to actually execute on this. So we've got the technology, we've got the license, and now we're working on how do we get the budget so we can integrate directly with the central banks and forget about the commercial banks. We don't want to think about them, we don't want to know them. And then we can think about, okay, how do we fix the central bank? So I take this step approach. Yes, we have a question here, the gentleman in the orange shirt. Yeah.
Hi. So compared to the previous gentleman before the lunch break, he mentioned how is it in Bulgaria regarding the work of exchanges or other crypto players with the Bulgarian banking system and legal framework. How was it in UK? Getting this license, was it easy or hard? Do you have any restrictions or stipulations that you have to abide by in UK, just compared to Bulgaria?
Sure. So the way this works is on the European EU level, you have a framework or directives, and then each EU member state implements those directives in local legislature. So they have local laws and rules, and they have a regulator who enforces these things and a regulator who gives out licenses. So I tried talking to the Bulgarian National Bank about this 4 years ago, and I very quickly realized, okay, I'm wasting my time here. So taking this proposition to the FCA, they're a lot more business friendly, like they want to talk to me and understand what's happening and why it's happening, because they're thinking about how do we promote competition, how do we break up the bank cartels, you know, how do we, they operate differently. So the same licensing arrangements exist in Bulgaria. Now, how easy it is to obtain a license in Bulgaria, I don't know. I haven't tried it. For us, it took us 10 months because we were in the regulatory Sandbox program, which is, it's part of the innovation program of the regulator. And so they work with you a lot more closely in order to understand, okay, what are the risks, where is this going, do we need new regulations? But I mean, in theory, anybody can, if you have the right compliance systems and infrastructure and policies, and anybody should be able to go and get it in any EU country. Now, what I have heard is, I mean, Lithuania and Malta were popular places to get licenses. What I heard is there's a backlog in Lithuania, so now companies are going to the Czech Republic. And what I heard about Malta is that, again, there's a backlog, so if you put in an application now, they probably won't be able to look at it until September. And then there is the whole process of actually, getting over all the hurdles for them to give you the license. So it could take, if you start now, you could do it in 17 months, in 24 months, or longer, depending on the jurisdiction, depending on what happens.
So just
does that answer your question? Because I see one more hand out there.
So you don't have any restrictions working with banks in the UK?
So there are no legal restrictions. The banks in the UK, most of them don't want to work with us. I mean, that's their choice, like risk appetite or whatever. They can actually choose their customers.
Basically.
But there are two banks in the UK who would work with us when we can pass their requirements. But it's going to take me about 10 months to do that, and it costs about 10 times more than what I'm currently paying. So it makes no like we're paying 2,000 euros per month for banking services so that our client funds are safeguarded as required by regulation. And we do that in Estonia. If we do that in the UK, I have to pay somewhere between 12,000 and 20,000 pounds for the same service. So commercially, it doesn't make sense. But yeah, if you really need it and you want to pay for it, we can arrange it for you.
Because the problem in Bulgaria is that no bank actually works with crypto exchanges or crypto payers or agencies whatsoever with the word crypto in it. And that's the biggest problem currently in Bulgaria.
Let's start our own bank. Let's start our own bank.
I was just curious how it is in the UK. How do you handle with this situation?
So one last question, because I'm running over time, so we have a hand there. One last question, and yeah.
Well, it just occurred to me, what about Brexit? How does it influence your business model?
Oh, Brexit. Let's not talk about that. I don't even know if the UK has a prime minister at the moment or what the situation is. So honestly, I don't care either way. We'll find a solution. If there's a problem, we'll find a solution. So, thank you.